welcome to the Route Consultant weekly webinar for the bread and grocery industry. My name is Josh Gregory. I'm the Vice President of Education here at Route Consultant. If you've never met us before, our team ran one of the largest FedEx operations in the country and has had over a decade of experience valuing, selling, and consulting on logistics businesses. And for all of you, the goal of these webinars is not to focus on FedEx, but to help you understand the opportunity that comes with owning a business in the bread and grocery industry and what that new opportunity can look like. So we're here for you to learn about this industry, to ask questions, and then find the best way to accelerate your journey into the industry if you do decide that it's the right fit for you. Now, if you are here live, we'll have a Q&A at the end in case there are any questions for myself or my co-host. And if you aren't here live and you do have questions, you're watching this on YouTube later, feel free to reach out to us directly, info@routeconsultant.com, or you can call us at our hotline. Any of those questions that you may have about what we talk about today or anything we've talked about previously, we're always happy to answer. Now, if you are here live, though, we would ask that you put your question in the Q&A button at the bottom of the window. If you put it in the chat or raise your hand, I might miss it. So if you are here live, ideally put it in that Q&A button at the bottom. Now, if you've been on these past few webinars or you've watched them, we try to keep them relatively high level so that anyone can come in for the first time. You can listen, you can learn and ask questions about topics in the industry so that you can come in and get comfortable about the way everything works here. But we do have an expert on board with over a decade of experience in this industry, and he is here to provide in-depth consulting, training, and mentoring. So we wanted to give you a sample of some of the more in-depth types of topics that he's capable of covering so that you can see what it'll be like to work alongside him in your own business. And so today we're going to be talking through a planogram, what that means, why it matters, and how to approach it at a variety of customers, what you should be thinking about. And so, as I mentioned, we've got Stephen Ryan on to guide you through this conversation. So, Stephen, if you want to go ahead and jump on and say hello, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Hey, Josh, great to be back with you.
Yeah, and it's good to see you in that new location. I know that we've got you in the office today, so we gave you a new spot to set up in.
Office with a view. It's awesome over here.
Yeah, perfect. So, I kind of talked about what it's going to be, but just let's keep it super simple. What is a planogram for those who have never heard that word before?
Yeah, so simple, high level, thinking about planograms. This is basically how the stores allot space to vendors. And so this is going to be how the shelf tags, the price tags are going to be laid out. There are deep dive metrics into this on the back end where they look at exactly how wide a loaf of bread is, and they figure out how many can fit between each tag. But general rule of thumb, know that more facings equals better sellers, less facings equals slower sellers. And so it's important that when you're looking at planograms that you really utilize all the space that's given you. And so if you're looking at a shelf, this is going to be from one shelf tag to the next. And if you can fit 3 units in between there, it may be tight, but you need to use all that space. But that's a simple high level way to think about planograms and how the stores really dictate what goes into them.
Okay, so in terms of what you may be given, they're going to essentially lay out and say, hey, this is a measurement of how much space you take up. Is that how it's described?
Not so much a measurement, that's done kind of on the back office, but when they set the stores, when they set the shelves, they're going to have shelf strips that are going to be pre-written on how much space is used between tags. And so that'll allow you to know how many facings you have. Some retailers like Walmart, if you actually look in the details on the shelf tag, there's a little number in the bottom left just next to the UPC number, and it'll show how many facings you have of that. So that's an easy way to understand it. And it'll also show a capacity number. So if it's 1 facing, they project that you should be able to fit them 6 deep. And so you have 1 facing with a pack out of 6 units.
Got it. Okay. And then is it something where the facings dictate whether you can stack it or not? Like, does it dictate your vertical space as well, I guess?
Yes, vertical space is also dictated. And so there'll be shelves laid out. And oftentimes there's an adequate space vertically. With bread, you really don't want to go more than 3 high. The bottom loaf tends to start getting smushed. And it's obviously less desirable once you reach the bottom loaf. So too high is a good rule of thumb. If you stand your bread up and stack it deep, that's another good option.
Got it. Okay. So I guess just in general for people, why would a planogram matter for a store? What happens if they don't do the planogram well?
Yeah, so each store is going to have their own planogram. They're going to have their own set of items they expect to be delivered in that store. So as you look at your route, if you have 3 Krogers, 2 Walmarts, a Target, and a Food Lion, they're all going to have different planograms, and some may have all the core items and some may only have a few. And so it's important to know when you place your orders, what goes where and make sure that you have adequate supply. But as you learn the route, it becomes really easy to figure out, what sells where. All your top selling SKUs are going to be, offered in channels nationally across all of the different retailers. But really, just the specialty items is where they start getting added or pulled out. As far as your question about spacing, it's important that you make sure that you use all the space that you have. So the planogram is set. They want uniformity across all markets. And so if one Kroger down the street has one specialty bread, they want the same set down the road. So if a customer is traveling, they know what they can expect no matter what store they go into.
Yeah. Yeah. And so from a store perspective, if you're thinking about it, like if a store fails at their planogram, it quickly leads to overstocked shelves, to very low sales, to unhappy customers. And part of it is definitely about making sure the product is where the customer expects it to be. But there's also the other side of it where what a store is often trying to do with their planogram is maybe put products in a place where customers will notice it and maybe buy something that they weren't planning on buying. That's, get more revenue out of the customer purely in the way they design the store. And as Stephen was saying, in a lot of ways, this is kind of a math equation for a store, and it's prediction where they're looking at, historical data, at retail space and customer traffic data to maximize their sales. So what they're doing is taking all of this, they're working with the products you have and deciding, how many you get and how all of that works. So from the store perspective, do they completely dictate how much space you get? And do they also dictate which products are in that space?
Yeah, so it depends on the retailer. So all your big box stores, your Walmarts, your Krogers, they're going to dictate your planogram, your set, and what you can put in there. Now, in addition to that, as long as the product is authorized, meaning that it can be scanned across the register or it can be checked in the back door, you can bring it in on a display. Just know that if that display ever comes down, you're not going to have anywhere to go with it because it's not in the set. So it's a great way to drive incremental sales, but you do have to be a little careful with it, knowing that if this is a store that, tends to damage cardboard displays when the, floor sweeper comes through at the end of the night, product can fall over, they can take it off the floor, and you need to be prepared for that.
Got it. Okay. So when you say the set, those are the products that the stores decided you can put on your shelves?
That's correct. And so that's, like we mentioned, for uniformity and also for online fulfillment. If a customer is using an online platform to, whether it's a third party or one in the store, to pre-purchase and have a customer have an employee pick their items, they want to make sure that if they do it at this store, that they have it available at the other store. And so there's some uniformity all the way across the chains that is really critical to execute on.
Got it. And do you get any input at all on the set, or is it, if there's like a product that is really high margin, can you put it in the set, or is it completely on the store end?
So it depends on the retailer. Some will allow you to what they call cut in a product to the set. So this is something that isn't allotted from a national viewpoint, but if the store is very customer focused, Publix is very customer focused. And so if there's a specialty item, a gluten-free item, or something else that a customer requests, they will ask you to bring it in. They'll find you space on the shelf. They'll make you a shelf tag. And so even though it isn't in the set, they really want to focus on that customer and make sure that they have the product for them.
Okay, got it. Now, you mentioned something interesting there where just a second ago, where if you have a display, as long as it's an authorized product, you can put whatever you want on it. And so essentially displays are outside the planogram. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct. So as a sales representative, as a business owner, we really grow our business by finding those products that are really selling well in your store and then getting extra incremental space for that. And so that can go for, small things like street tacos, right? So if you have a store that doesn't have a street taco in their set and you are able to sell that product, you're in an area that has lots of street taco stands, they're looking for that. And so that's an option to sell a display and really grow your business outside of the constraints of the planogram.
Got it. And how much of when you're pitching, trying to get a display in a store, do you go in as deep as saying which products you're going to put there? Does that need to be a part of the pitch, or is it more just trust me, I can do it, we have a good relationship type of thing?
It can be a little bit of both. Show some data on it. If you are really selling out of a product quickly and it's because there's a restaurant that's buying your hoagie buns, show the customer, fulfillment is a big deal. And so if you're stocking a product and while you're stocking it, a customer comes in and they say, I have a restaurant down the road, and they buy everything you brought in. Now that has an effect on every person down the line that tries to purchase that product, whether it's online or in person. And so if you're out of stock on that, that can have a big impact on the retailers and their metrics that they use to track success. So that's a great way to leverage things that you're seeing as a distributor in the store to serve them better, to grow sales and grow your business.
Yeah, and that's a great point about not just adding, cutting in or adding products that are authorized and not a part of the set. Like you could do that on the display if maybe it's, the right product that you want to put in there, but they won't let you be in the set. But in addition, if there are products that are a part of the set that just get crushed, where you would have to come almost every day to make sure that that product is fulfilled properly, but you can supplement it by instead having a display that has additional amounts of that. Is that, that seems like a way where you're saving yourself trips to the store of restocking and also keeping your set intact where you're still showing all the products that the store cares about. That seems like a great way of handling that type of problem.
That's exactly right. That's where the local representative really thrives in the relationship between us and the retailer.
Yeah, and I think this is where you start to see a lot of how there is nuance here beyond just the store has asked for these 5 products and I have, a foot of space to fill it with those 5 products, where, there are different ways to present them, different amounts to, come back in and restock. And then there are also displays and other products that you can add beyond or supplement. And it goes, there's a lot of depth there. Do you find that the average contractor engages at that level or works through some of these things? Or is this more of, most people are just like, I've got these 5 products, I'll make sure they're on the shelves and that nobody's mad at me?
I would say that most guys probably reach, an 80-85% execution on, products that are really selling out. Guys that have been out here for a long time, they really know what sells where. Really, if you want to be an above and beyond distributor, if you want to make lots of money, if you want to grow your business, it's found in that extra 10 to 15%. Those little things that take some time, that take some effort. When you build that display and the night stalker comes through with a pallet and they knock it over, having another display to put it back up, not just rolling your eyes and not doing it again. It's those little things that really make you stand out as a contractor. And it's a great way to grow your business.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's always that kind of last margin that, that extra 10% that separates the good from the good enough, essentially. And I've definitely seen a lot of contractors that are in the bread space in particular, the good enough, where, you can understand what is required of you. There's not a ton of regulation from the bakery. And so you can do enough to be successful in the route you have and do well. That's completely fine. But the growth, the kind of above and beyond routes require a little bit more of what you're talking about, a little bit of creativity, relationship building, and using the tools that you have and the tools that the stores give you to find the ways to maximize your revenue. So, we talked about these sets that the store has of the products you have to have. Is that, permanent for a whole year? Do they change at all what those sets include?
That's the cool thing about this business. So every 6 months, every 12 months, they're going to redo the set. So they're going to bring in new items. They're going to remove old, slower moving items, and they're going to reallocate space. And so there's deep dive metrics onto this. There's crazy numbers that are understood at a corporate level. And that's really amazing where we have this backing from really smart people that are there to assist us in building our business, and we need to execute at a store level. But in a general sense, as you grow your business, as you grow velocity on core SKUs, you're going to increase space on the next reset. As they investigate consumers' buying habits, new trends, new diets, there's going to be new items that are going to come out into market. They're going to be added to the set. There's going to be promotions around them to make sure that consumers are aware of them. Some of them really take off, some of them don't, and they go away. But that's another way that, these businesses are unique because we're not in this ourselves. There's a whole army of people behind us at a corporate level that are pushing us forward with analytics.
Yeah, which is definitely fantastic. 'Cause like we've said in the past, everyone's incentives are aligned here, where it's just let's sell more bread. Let's have as high margins on these sales as much as we can in these stores. No one wants to do anything other than facilitate those sales. Now, do you find that if there's some kind of fad, some kind of product that's come up really quickly, do you find that the sets react quickly enough to keep up with that? Or is that something where you might try to, if it's an authorized product, you might try to get it on a display faster than the set resets?
Yeah, if it's a new product and it's available to order and it's not yet in the set, I would really push for it on a display. I would say this product is coming, it's going to be reset into the set in 2 months. Can we get a jump start on it? It's available now. And that's a great way, as we've talked about in the past, to grow your sales, get that excitement around that new product. There's always promotions on it, IRCs, individual redemption coupons that can show value to the customer, even if it's at full retail. And the managers love that. So it's a great way to really make their store look good.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to kind of prime the pumps on these new products. And if it's on a display, it's in limited amounts. So before it hits the set, you've already got people seeing it and seeing that, hey, there's not a lot that I have access to, but then suddenly there's more and everybody's trying to get it. I mean, there's lots of kind of, I think there's a lot of interesting things you can do with the planogram, with your sets and with your displays to play with customer demand and with product margins that it sounds like a lot of people don't think about, but can add a lot of value.
Yeah, absolutely. Limited edition products. Pepperidge Farm in the last year really started collaborating with other brands to tremendous success. They did an Old Bay collaboration with Goldfish, and it was incredible. They sold out so quickly. They're launching some new products they're really exciting. Frank's Red Hot. These are brands that people know, and then when you mix and mash them, there can be a lot of excitement, and you can really make some money doing that.
I was about to say, I'm gonna go find some Old Bay Goldfish. That sounds great. Now I know one of the things you mentioned was talking about, we've talked about it a couple times in this webinar, bringing in products that are outside the set but are authorized. And I think there is some different consideration and risk if you're talking about a chain store versus an SBT. Can you just kind of remind people what those are and then talk about kind of the pros and cons there?
Yes, so high level, if you are a chain store, you're taking product into the back room, a receiver is checking it in, and they're paying an invoice based on what you brought in. No problems there. They're going to scan each SKU, and they're going to make sure that you're bringing in what you're invoicing them for. Scan-based trading is a little different, so they're going to pay for the product when it scans across the register. So it's brought into the store on consignment. Now, this can get a little hairy if you are bringing a product that's not in the set. So you want to make sure that it's authorized because you have only one point of failure, which is at the register. You don't have that receiver checking it in to make sure that it's authorized. So make sure it's authorized. And if it's in an SBT store, know that if you put something in that is not authorized, your account was billed for it when you ordered it, but it's not going to get credited when it goes out the front door. And so that's really important. I've done it before. I've put product in, I've taken some losses. And so learn that, understand if you're bringing something in that's not in the set, make sure before you bring it in that it'll scan and you'll get paid on it.
And what's the best way to figure out if something's authorized? If you, do you have to wait till you scan, or can you find out in advance?
A receiver is going to be able to find that information for you. I would double check with a district manager just to make sure that it's authorized. This can also be in some companies referred to as a virtual planogram. So they'll have an actual planogram that's showing the space, the SKUs, and how many facings. But then in addition to that, there's additional items that are in a virtual planogram that are authorized to be sold within that store on a display. So district manager, a receiver, and last check is at the register, at the self-checkout. You can scan it and have them void it.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense, where there are pathways to go and find the information, but it would be, I could completely see that mistake happening of, you got excited about a product, thought it was authorized, and you don't find out until later that not only is it not authorized, but I've already ordered it and paid for it, and there's no way for me to sell it. Is there any way to get a product authorized that's not on the virtual planogram?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out. I'll get back with you. I would think that it would be a corporate decision at a regional level. So if Kroger Nashville is able to authorize an item, it's going to be in all 85 of their stores in this market. So that would be a corporate decision.
So probably tough unless you have the right relationships to pull on. And even then it's we'll see. But yeah, definitely safer to find out before you order, leverage those relationships before to find out, hey, if this is a new or limited edition project, I don't know for sure if it's on, can you check for me, and double check with the district manager type of thing. I think that makes perfect sense. Perfect. So as you have all heard today, there's a lot actually to consider here when you're trying to think through a store and how to decide not just the products that you're putting there, but the products that you are supplementing it with. And each individual store is going to handle these things differently. And so there's nuance at the store level, at your territory level, knowing your customer demographics. So these are the types of things that we would really work through with you as you're coming into this business and trying to decide what's the right product mix, what's the right additional revenue areas that I can pull on that maybe the previous contractor wasn't doing, and find ways to kind of grow that bottom line, show your value to a store, and continue to find that incremental revenue and find ways to grow. And so this is something that we can talk about in depth forever, but is also something that you're going to find the most value if you're doing this with your own territory and having us really talk through the individual nuances of your business. So if you have any questions on that, if you've never dealt with this before, or you've done it for a while and just want fresh eyes on your business, thinking through these types of things, you're always welcome to reach out to us, info@routeconsultant.com, or call us directly. And Stephen and I are happy to jump on and talk through these types of things and try to find the right path for you as you're building it for your business. So that's what we wanted to cover today. The other main thing that I just wanted to call out is if you are interested in learning more about this space, taking the next step here, we do have new investor summits that there's a digital course, but there's also a workshop in person in our offices in Nashville. And our next one's coming up at the end of June. And if you're interested, for the next, I think it's 4 days, we have a sale where it's 60% off. So if this is something of interest for you, like I said, really limited term sale for that one that's coming up in June. Other than that, we have tons of digital content, one-on-ones. We have ways that you can work, like I've said, with Stephen directly on a business that you're working towards or a business that you already have. So if any of those things are challenges or questions for you, feel free to reach out to us and we can help talk you through it. Other than that, thanks everybody for being on here. Stephen, thank you for being here and providing your expertise. And we will talk more next week.
Thank you, Josh. See you guys. Have a good week.